I'm truly grateful for the incredible senpais I've met throughout my illustration learning journey. I feel like whenever I've been stuck or lost, my senpai creators' works have always inspired or spurred me on and shown me the path I ought to take. The illustrators I especially admire are Yoneyama Mai sensei, Murata Range sensei, and Modare sensei. I also learn a lot from professionals working in photography and visual design. For example, I love the work of photographers Murat Safin and Takahiro Sakai because their work has a wonderful balance of light and shadow, incredible composition, and a raw, unfiltered beauty to them. I always feel inspired to create more whenever I encounter works brimming with life that contain unique and brilliant ideas. Seeing good works of art has been a crucial experience for me and a huge motivating factor to continue drawing. I'd known with certainty that I wanted to become a professional illustrator since I was in high school. Unfortunately, I was unable to go against my parents' wishes back then, and I ended up going to university and majoring in science and technology studies instead. When I was in my final year of university, however, I came to the realization that drawing was what I was truly passionate about, so I had a talk with my parents. After some discussion, we reached a compromise and they gave me 1 year to become a game animator. The reason I chose the gaming industry was simply because I loved games. I knew my parents wanted me to have a stable income, but I wanted to give this path a shot, so I persevered. During that final year, I studied relentlessly and acquired as much knowledge as I could about key animation and succeeded in joining a gaming company as a key animator. After working there for about 2 years, I switched to my dream company and worked for another year before eventually becoming a freelance illustrator. I've always been doodling ever since I can remember. When I got older, I began copying illustrations, focusing solely on how well I could reproduce a piece instead of trying to create anything original. After learning the basics of sketching, I gradually began to think about the various parts comprising an illustration as a whole, such as composition and lighting. I believe that balance is key for any illustration. When I'm drawing, I make sure to pay attention to the overall balance of the piece I'm working on and divide it into sections, checking the balance of each section as I go along. That said, drawing this way tends to mess with my brain a lot. I still have plenty of room for improvement, so I'll work harder at practicing my craft. I try to incorporate multiple things that I want to try out in the same illustration. When I have time, I like to pick a photograph and spend about 10 minutes practicing color theory. I think that can be helpful in recreating realistic colors. To be more specific, I analyze the color scheme of the photo in my head and select the colors that I think match them based on my intuition alone. I then switch from the pen to the selection tool, placing an emphasis on the overall feel of the photo. Lastly, I end my practice by checking if I was able to choose colors that are true to the image. Drawing girls is so much fun. I absolutely adore cute girls, and I try my best to depict their charm and softness in my illustrations. Photos are my best friend, so I use lots of them as references to study which parts of the body change in shape when a model does a particular pose. I also place a lot of emphasis on lines so I can produce a more visual impact in my drawings. During the coloring process, I focus on the lines of the muscles and try to follow them as closely as possible, which I feel adds dimension to my drawings. At the same time, I also pay close attention to the shapes of shadows. I believe that in Japanese bishoujo illustrations, it's important to know when to omit or simplify things. For the finishing touches, I do my best to recreate the look and feel of skin, such as by keeping in mind where the light source is and increasing the saturation of the edges that it hits. Although I use photos as references, my goal isn't to make things look perfectly realistic. I like to consider the overall effect a piece has and prioritize what is visually stunning, which involves some beautification or simplification. I also sometimes use animation storyboards as a reference because I like how they make the screen pop even more by exaggerating or distorting certain aspects. Animators truly are remarkable people, and I'm always in awe of how much I can learn from them. Oh, definitely. I believe that drawing means to constantly deny and challenge your current self. It's a continuous process in which you come up with ideas, make changes to them, and at times flat out reject them. Sometimes I bemoan the fact that my best wasn't enough after seeing a piece, or succumb to self-loathing after seeing other people's amazing works. I believe that's only natural as an illustrator, however. and it's important to maintain motivation and continue making an effort to improve your craft. I always tell myself, don't overthink things, let go of any expectations, but hold on to the desire to express yourself through art. As long as I keep drawing, there will always be a next time, and a one after next should that fail, to create what I hope to express. Illustrations are full of second chances. Of course, if you can't solve something on your own, talking with your friends about it can be an effective strategy too. It was Genshin Impact, which I started playing in 2021. There were many cute girls in the game, and I really loved the visuals too, which prompted me to start drawing fan art. Usually, I'll doodle for a bit after coming home from work, but since I started playing Genshin, most of the illustrations I draw in my spare time have now become Genshin fan art. I started posting my doodles on Twitter in lieu of keeping a sketchbook, and before I knew it, 3 years had passed. Looking back, it's kind of scary how quickly time passes. I usually draw and post variants of freebie illustrations, but lately I've taken to holding monthly events where I accept requests from my fans who support me as a way of interacting with them more often. Thanks to all my fans who purchase these plans, I'm able to pour all my efforts into creating art, for which I'm extremely grateful. Momoko is my original character, and she embodies all the qualities that I admire in a girl. At times, she felt like a friend who would cheer me on by my side, and she helped me out a lot during this solo exhibition. Creating an illustration by continuously pouring my soul into it was a new and challenging experience for me. I'm glad I could overcome this, as I was able to gain new experiences and feedback from others. Ultimately, I envisioned a secret garden that existed in my mind when deciding the layout of the venue and coming up with potential designs for merch. The exhibition is essentially a tea party in the sky filled with an abundance of beautiful things. My favorite part is the harmony between the islands floating outside the window and the relaxed atmosphere of the interior. In the slowly floating castle in the air, an angel in cute clothes is brewing flower tea and waiting for her guests in the living room, where the curtains sway gently in the breeze. I also imagine the room is filled with the scent of tea, and you almost smell it through the drawing if you get close enough. For this exhibition, I worked with the staff to decide the layout and interior of the venue, and I think it turned out extremely adorable. We also created as many different types of merch as possible before gradually narrowing them down to the best of the best. My favorite item is the specially framed art prints, so please check them out. I'd like to continue learning more about illustration and computer graphics. In terms of things I'd like to try, I hope to work on a game someday. While creating a game is no easy feat, I'm sure the satisfaction you'll get upon completing it is immense. Giving birth to a wonderful game is truly a work of art. If you're a beginner, don't make things overly complicated and simply enjoy the process of drawing. Being able to recreate what's in your head on paper is already an incredible feat in itself. If you've already started your professional journey, keep drawing as much as you can, for it's important to maintain the desire to create and express something. Remember, you're not alone. Let's work together towards our goals.